today I've got a Kriesler, made in Australia, from the early 50s. I haven't checked out any information on it. It's got pretty much the standard Kriesler front on it from the same period. So that looks okay there. Got the wrong knob on it. But it's also a record player. So I was given this and I'm not sure what to do with it. Originally I was just going to take it to the auction and get rid of it because it's a monstrosity of a thing. I don't know, where would you even put it in your house? What, you'd need a table or something. So it's all here. It's got a BSR turntable, which doesn't turn. That mats as hard as a rock. It's like a frisbee. The case isn't bad. I think it's got a bit missing out the back here. Yeah, so it's got one of the, whatever they're called, straight bits missing. So that can be repaired. Otherwise it's okay, it'll probably come up alright. Now I was going to put it in the auction, as I said, but I saw one in the on the Facebook marketplace the other day and they had $250 on it. It actually polished up pretty well. But it wasn't working. All they'd done is put a Bluetooth speaker in it from, I don't know where they got it from, some sort of Bluetooth device inside, and you could just Bluetooth it and that was it. Whether they'd wired it in and the dial lit up or not, I don't know. So I started to have second thoughts. I thought maybe I could have a go at doing it up. The radio would be fairly straightforward. The phono, not sure about that. It's got a needle. Yeah, it's got a cartridge in it. Let's see if I can get this off. Oh, the clip's missing. Should be an E-clip on there. Oh, there it is. It's not looking too good in there, is it? Fucking a really thick rust there. It could be refinished. Probably come up. Look at it. What? It's had animals living in here or something. Maybe it's had mice in there. They've rusted it out. There's the idler wheel, and that's no good, of course. And somebody's taken that off. So somebody's been in here and investigated and said, "Oh, forget it." Turning off thing. It's not an automatic change. It's just manual. So you would, I guess, you would lift it up and click it back, and it would turn on. And then that would run up that little ramp there eventually, and turn it off again. And that'll be the switch to turn the motor on and off. And that works. I think 145. 78's not working. Oh, there it is. So these things are the issue. Where do you, I don't know, I've got to come up with a way of redoing these. I've got 2 or 3 record players I've got to do, and the tyres on them are pretty much they're certainly no good. Alright, it's also got a broken hinge. That's it just has a screw going into that Bakelite there by the look of it, so that's got to be repaired. Probably worth a go just for fun, see if I can get rid of it. Perhaps I'll just sell this one. I've got nowhere to put it. I could also put Bluetooth, like a proper Bluetooth in, so you could use the radio, the gram and the Bluetooth, whichever you like, so make it a bit more appealing for people that may want to buy it. I've got nothing to lose, have I? It was given to me. If it ends up junk, I'll just use it for spares. What I'll do is just pull it apart and check out the individual components and see what I can do. So here's the radio part. I've pulled it out, and so I managed to get a schematic. It's a model 1130. It was about 53, I think, 52, depending where you looked. Wasn't a lot of information. That's the only information I've got. Turns out it's a 4-valve, so not going to be a great performer. 4 valves, and that's it. It's easy. It's very simple. Top looks okay. It's got a lot of corrosion on it again, so I suggested maybe it had animals in it, mice or something. Let's have a look at the bottom. So the bottom's what you've come to expect, just very old capacitors, and hasn't had any work done to it. By the look, I can't see any capacitors that are out of place. All looks original. It's they've got a little green telltale on a lot of the solders, if not most of them, and they're all intact. That one maybe, but that's probably people getting the radio in and out. In which case, I guess it's been serviced at some point, or unless perhaps they do that after when they assemble it. They probably did it after the inspection. So yeah, nothing unusual in there. I'm going to give this a shot, see how it goes, if it goes. So I've rejigged my dim bulb setup and I meter there so we can see the wattage and volts that's going in. At the moment it's just reading the voltage that's supplied to the dim bulb. That'll change as the dim bulb consumes some power. So there's the power on switch, and I can select dim bulb or full power, and that cuts the power to the radio under test. So until I lift that up, there's no power to the radio. If something goes wrong, I can hopefully slam it down and turn it off. So we can also see the dim bulb there. I've set the variac to 100 volts, 101 there, and we're going through an isolation transformer. And I've also got a voltmeter here. I've got it on DC, and I've set it on the plate of the output valve, so we'll be able to see if there's any power getting through there. That's always a good test for the, well, as far as I know, it's a good test for the output transformer. So what I've got is 101 volts. It's on dim bulb. There's the power switch. Just turn it on. The bulb should come on a little bit. No, I'll just turn the power on the radio first. Yeah. Alright, so now I've got the switch on the radio. There's some wattage there for 4.8, 4.7. It's dropped down to about 80 volts. So that would seem fairly normal. I also buzzed out the transformer before I turned this on, so I know there's no shorts in it. Dial lights have come on, so there's 6 volts there somewhere. Going on now, 150 odd volts. The bulb's showing some sort of dimness there. Let's put a bit more on. Still only pulling 13 watts. Oh, there it goes.
Arrangements with our task is made a little easier though, thanks to pre-arranged plans from Anton Brown Funerals. Anton Brown Funerals handles everything with dignity and compassion, and you'll have the peace of mind knowing you're dealing with a family company whose services are suited to your needs and requests. Anton Brown Funerals at Woolloongabba and Astley. Visit antonbrownfunerals.com.au.
If you want to see the world's best new boat, test out the latest gear, or talk to the experts about how easy it is for you and your family to get on the water.
No, that works alright. So voltage is, plate voltage 74. I think it's supposed to be, let's see. Plate voltage is 74, it should be 230. We're only putting 156 volts in it. Let's go full voltage. I'll just wind that back first. I'll go full voltage, full power, and it's pulling 41 watts. And we've got 149. We're supposed to have 230. So that's a little bit off, isn't it? So we'll have to find out why that is. That's not working properly at all. So yeah, leaky cap somewhere. That seems to have stabilised at 170. So it'll be some capacitors in there, I'd imagine, pulling that down. So once I go through and change them, everything will be should return to normal, I assume. Well, I hope so anyway. Well, I'm going to change these electro capacitors this morning. This one's a dual capacitor, so it's got two capacitors in one. This one's coming straight off the rectifier, and this one goes to a voltage divider. I'll just show you here quickly on this schematic. Here's your rectifier out, and there's the first cap and the second cap, and they both go to the center tap. This one's, if you can see there's a little voltage divider drawn on the bottom. So this second capacitor picks off the somewhere on that resistor. So I don't quite know why. I don't need to adjust it, of course, but I don't know why it's on a variable there. You need a resistance between the two capacitors for it to work, but yeah, I don't know why it's adjustable. And if you did adjust it, what you would adjust it to and what difference it makes. I don't understand that bit. So if somebody knows, let me know, please. Here's the little voltage divider sitting on top of the chassis. So that's your B plus going right all the way through, and there's the tap off going to that second capacitor. The other one's just an 8 microfarad capacitor going to earth there. I've changed the electrolytic caps. I also changed this little yellow fellow on the end here. It was coupled to that one anyway. I just want to see how much difference changing those makes to the B plus. So I'm all set up. I'm plugged in. It's got 240 odd volts there. I'll just put power on it. I'll just watch the bulb. Make sure that dims out, which it's doing. We're reading about 15 watts there, so that's what you'd expect. The voltage has dropped to 170 and it's rising, so that looks normal. I'll just put it on full power. So the volume should come up, and that plate voltage, should rise to somewhere near 200 and odd. Yeah, it's still pretty low. It has come up. It's supposed to be 230. It's still 185, so that's interesting. Could be a weak rectifier, of course. Let's just see what the grid's got on it. It's at -5 on that, so that'll be right. I think it's supposed to be -6. This is the voltage directly out of the rectifier. And what have we got? 266. It should be 275. There's still something afoot. I'll continue replacing some caps, and we'll see if that makes a difference. I've changed all the other capacitors in here now, so just going to see what voltages we get now. I've got the unit on and it's all working. We've got 230 volts going in, and it's running at about 37 watts, which is pretty good. So let's just see what we've got on the plate of the output. 177, so that hasn't got any better at all, has it? And the screen, 200. Now they're supposed to be 235 and 230, so it's 20 volts down there, or 30 volts. This is the output from the rectifier. See what we got there. 260. What's supposed to be 275. So out of the rectifier is low to start with. I wonder if the rectifier is a bit low. Just let me turn this off and I'll change the valve. Okay, I've got the new rectifier in. It's a brand new old stock valve. So see what we've got now. 275. Spot on. Spot on. Okay. The plate now. Let's see, 184. It's only come up a couple of volts, 4 volts or so. The screen, 208, supposed to be 230, so still something not working properly there. I'll just change this output valve to 6M5 and just see if that makes a difference. I've got an old 6M5 in there. I haven't got any new ones, but it's a different one anyway. We'll see what that's done. So 200, so that's come up a bit. That's come up, what, about 15, 16, 17 volts. The screen, 221. Still a bit short, we're about 10 short there. No, about 15 short actually. Let's do some other voltages while I'm here, just to see what's going on. I'll just write these down. So we've got 200 on the plate, the output valve. We've got 220 odd, 221 on the 220 on the screen. So they're a bit low. For this 6AD8, plate is number 6. Should be it there. It's going to the IF transformer. That's supposed to be 135. Got 140. That's okay. The screen's number 1. Where are you? Right there. That should be 80 volts. That's spot on. So that's good. So some voltages are good. So I've only got one valve to go. That's the 6A7, and let's see what that is. Plate is number 3, so there's 1, 2, 3. That's supposed to be 235, which is B+. So that's a bit low, that one. And this will be the screen right next to it, and that should be 90 volts, and that's down 61. Okay, 61. See if there's anything on that side of that capacitor. Nothing. So it's not getting through there. What have we got the other side? This should be about B+. Yeah, 221, so that's B+. So that resistor's dropping down quite a bit of voltage there. What if the valve's pulling it down? I got a new 6 SA7 here, new valve. So I'm going to give that a go, see if that does anything. Okay, new valve's in. Let's see what difference that makes. So there's the screen. We should be getting 90. No, we got 70. Getting better, but it's not doing it, is it? Should be just your B+, which is 221, correct. Okay, well, I improved it, but it hasn't got it on to where we need to be. I'll check that resistor. I think 235 off your B+. 235 along there, goes into the IF, comes over here, goes through that resistor there onto the screen. So that is R8, and R8 is a 0.03 meg. Alright, so that should come up at 31k. That's spot on. So it's not that. Some of these other ones I haven't measured because I don't know what they are. I'd have to. They've got writing on them. I can't even barely make out the writing, much less read it. I put another 6M5 in. I'll just see what that looks like. I don't like these 6M5s. They seem to be fudgy. Look, see, that's another 5 volts on the plate, and the screen's getting close to what it's supposed to be, on 235. So gosh, I really don't think these 6M5s are what they're supposed to be. So I think I'm not going to concern myself too much. The radio's working, and it's working all right. I don't know that I can do much to fix that except get a brand new 6M5 and see what that does, or substitute it with another tube of equivalent, which means rewiring it again. I'm not particularly worried about doing that either. I've got some 6M5s on order, I hope, and there's new old stock, so that'll be interesting to see what the difference is fitting those. So I think at this point I'm going to call it okay. I'm just going to keep going. Since last night I've done a couple of things here. I did check all those resistors, they were all fine. This one was slightly out. It's a meg, it's supposed to be, and I'd read it 1.37 meg or something, so I changed it. It won't make any difference at all. All the other resistors are fine, couldn't find anything wrong. I ended up changing this coupling cap, and there's a resistor there I did replace once again. It was just slightly high, but the voltages aren't too bad. They're about 15 volts low now across the board, but the delivery voltage from the B+ from the rectifiers are spot on. The rest of the voltages are down a bit, except for this one, which is spot on as well. So I can't quite work out why. Anyway, I'm not concerned too much about it. The radio is working very well. I quickly checked the alignment. If I moved any of them a 16th of a turn, I'd be surprised. The alignment was on pretty good, and the scale on the front lined up perfectly at 600 and 1500, so I didn't adjust that at all. It's ready to clean now. I'm not going to do any more electronically to it at this stage, if any. I need to get rid of the rust that's on here, this rust here, and this is animal urines got into there. You can see where it's sort of dripped underneath and rusted underneath as well. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'll sandblast that off, and I'll probably sandblast that top plate of the condenser there, and just give it a coat of protective paint. Otherwise, just wipe everything off and just make it look a bit more presentable. The speaker also needs to be repaired. And the front here, I'll take this glass off. Of course, it's absolutely filthy. I couldn't even read the numbers up the top for the frequencies. And the back has faded. It looks like a spray-on type felt material. I'm just going to either respray it, or I'll stick another piece of felt over the top. to brighten it up. Looks very dull. That'll be it for that part of the restore. I've cleaned the chassis up. I removed all the rust areas there. I put it in the sandblaster and just blasted the rust off. Cleaned up this bit here as well. Just generally cleaned around. I polished the little the IF cans, cleaned the valves up, and that's about all I've done to the actual chassis. There wasn't much else to do. The front, I cleaned the glass, of course. This brown backing here I've just repainted, and that's come up really well. So I've got to position the glass properly. Yeah, looks alright. It is what it is, and it's working pretty well. So I need to repair the hinge on this radiogram. It's been damaged. There it is there, the screw is ripped out of it. So it's supposed to have a screw in there. There's a screw and a little spacer. What I thought I might do, it should have a flat surface there for this to bind onto. So I've got a washer here. I thought what I might do is glue all that together like that with the screw in the middle with some JB weld, and I'll cover the screw in petroleum jelly, act as a release agent, and then the screw should just screw out once the JB weld is set. So I'm going to see how that goes. I've mixed up some JB weld and I'll just put it there. I want to go in the hole because I think the hole in the Bakelite's a bit worn, the screw hole that is. So if I push that in there, that's all I want to do, just take it up, not tight, and I'll just try and smooth that out. And that should sand off. That looks pretty good actually. I'm going to leave it at that, I think. That's going to take about 24 hours to harden so that I can rework it, and I'll just clean off all the bits there that we don't need, and hopefully the washer will stay there. I can take the screw out and it'll be quite solid. The other area of concern is this missing part here, which I luckily have. This was inside the radio, so that was a bit of luck. So I've got to fit that back on. I'm going to rough up the back of this and the back of these the remaining bit of rib, and I'm going to put an aluminium strip all the way down and glue the whole thing back together. You won't be able to see the strip, I'll make it slightly smaller. So there's the components, there's the old bit of the rib, and I've rubbed it all down with some very coarse paper. I've made a strip of aluminium, and there's our repair piece, or the piece that was taken out. So I think I'm going to try and glue that in first, then I'll flip it over and put the strip on the back. The reason I'm trying to do that is because I've got to spring it open to get this whole bit in. So let's give that a go. I've got some JB weld on there now, and we'll see if we can spring it in. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, that was a bit nerve-wracking. So I'll just apply the JB weld to the back of this, trying not to touch it. I've cleaned it. So just put some little grooves in it so the adhesive can move around when I push it down. Okay, that's in position. Now I've just got to clamp it. So I'm going to use tie wraps. These will help center that aluminium strip on the back and hold it in position while it's set. Alright, I reckon once that's polished up, you'll hardly notice that. Okay, so time to adjust this record player section here. I've taken it out. It's a BSR. It's not a changer, it's just a player. It doesn't have any automatic features. Although it does automatically stop the record when it gets to the end. Now this little mechanism here, when you pull the arm around on the record player, this comes around and turns puts the power on for the motor. And then when the player gets to the end of the record, this arm must hit that cam right up and then turn the record off. So that's pretty simple. what I can't understand is that doesn't turn. That cam's got to turn. So I suspect that's frozen in there. I didn't quite know how it worked. Here's the platter for it. There's no bearing or anything in here. There's no sign of a bearing. And I know this has got a taper. So I think that's supposed to turn. So I'm going to try and free it up. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Whether I need to soak it or it's extraordinarily tight. Well, it's not moving. So I thought that was fixed originally. I thought, well, why has it got that on it? And how does that work? So of course that makes me think that that's what it is. There's the bottom of it, and it's got a screw on the side, and I think that's to put oil in it, I guess. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take everything off here, strip it, I'll sandblast it, and just take it right back to metal, and then I'll respray it, and it should come up pretty good. Here's the bottom of that platter spindle, so that's that screw I thought might be for oiling. So I'm just going to fill it up with WD-40. Just let that soak for a couple of hours and we'll see if it'll loosen off. Might even leave it overnight, I think. I might have to put some heat on it to try it. It's obviously got grease or oil in there that's just gone hard, so it'll go on like a varnish. So this bearing support, well, I don't know what it is. It's been soaking overnight. I've made up a couple of little blocks just to grip it in the vise without damaging it, and the little screw lubricator or whatever it is, that'll help just stop it turning. I thought I might just heat that before I put it in the vise. Alright, let's give it a go, see if we've done anything. Assume that's turning. Oh yeah, that's turning. So I don't even know if it comes out. I don't know if it stays. Uh-oh. That doesn't look right, does it? This project might be dead in the water. Put some freeze spray on here. Wow, that is stuck. So I'm wondering what this end cap is. I'm just going to try drilling it, see what it looks like. Yeah. It looked like it was micarta or... it's not. Alright, let's get serious with this thing. If this breaks, I don't know what we're going to do. Ah, fell out. That fixed it. Just fell out on the floor. So there's a lesson. Get some real heat into it. Okay, so it looks like the project lives. That It's a pretty ordinary effort at making a smooth bearing, I've got to say. I don't think that's going all the way in either, so I need to work on that. I don't think it's hitting the bottom, so something's wrong. There's some damage where I put the pliers, but that'll come out. That's not part of the bearing area, so it's got to have that collar pressed back on, and I'll put some Loctite on there. That's how that'll be fine. What I discovered was there's a little burr down the bottom of the hole there, the bearing surface, and it's stopping this going all the way down. It's supposed to go down to where the masking tape is, and it's stopping about, I don't know, 6 mil up or something. So I've made a little tool here to just try and machine it away. So I'm just going to wrap some emery around that little, it's actually a bolt because I didn't have that size round stock. With a bit of luck, it's a bit big, so I just tear a bit off. Till it fits. There it goes. Well, I think so. Feels better anyway. Yep, I'd say that's got it. I will take these little suspension springy things out. There's bound to be rust under there, so I need to get rid of that. Okay, so the platform's ready to strip, and I've put a bit of strip on this about an hour ago, and it's taking the paint off really well, so I'm going to put paint stripper all over it, up top and bottom. Then I'll hit it with the sandblaster, and I'm just going to head down the shop now and buy some brown hammer finish paint, which will go over any rust that's remaining, and it's designed to do that, so that should come up pretty good. Right, well, I'll get started. did make a video on what I've done here up the top, but it failed, so I'm just going to recap. It had this spring on it which went around one of the screws and latched into here, and that wasn't working. I don't know if that's original or not. Anyway, I took it off. I've mounted this rather soft spring here, and I put a little solder tab on there and just mounted it on there to pull the idle wheel onto the pulley or the spindle. Now I've got an idle wheel off another record player, and it's not in very good condition, but it'll work as far as we're concerned. So I've lubricated everything and lubricated the little spindle there where the platter goes, and my little motor works after I pulled it apart and lubricated it. I'll turn it on, and there we go, we're at 33. Now when I initially did it with that other spring in and without having heavily lubricated it, it was only running at about 31 RPM, so I'm just going to try it again. This is a little app that is designed to test turntable speeds, and it looks pretty good already before it's even started. So it's gone blue, it's analysing it or measuring it, and that looks very good. It's a bit up and down though, isn't it? 33.67, so it's almost going too fast, but that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Makes a lot of racket, but that's this thing here, I think. I'll just try it on 45. I haven't put the little E-clip on there, so I can't change the speed. The pulley just comes off, so it needs this little clip. Okay, let's try that one. And already that looks pretty good. 45 point. Yeah. Once again, it's the decimal point numbers moving fairly. So what I got? 45.25. So that's pretty good. All right. So as far as that's concerned, it needs it. Look, I need to get a new idler wheel. There's nothing. Yeah, everything's working well. Just needs an idler wheel, I think, and we'll be good to go. But this will do as far as testing is concerned, and I can assemble the whole thing and just put a new idler wheel on later on. This has been drying for a few days, so I'll just see how it's gone. If I can get the screw out, that'd be good. There we go. Okay, that's come up good. So all I need to do is just clean all that off, make it round. I'll probably paint it brown, I guess, and I don't think you'll notice it. Well, let's see how this little repair went. I'll cut these off. That's come out really good. That's great. It's solid. Look at that. Solid as. Terrific. Alright. So just clean this up, file those bits of adhesive that are stuck there, and clean it up. It'll look good as new. Well, it's all done. Looks quite good. Polished up quite well actually. So I had a lot of paint spots on it, which I had to get off with some methylated spirits, but it came up well. Lots of cleaning, scrubbing, and polishing, and yeah, looks good. So when all the other bits are ready to pop in, we'll put it all together. The idler wheel that had the big ding in it where it's sitting on the spindle for 20 years, I machined that down took about 1/8 of an inch off it, I think, and I bought a little rubber tyre. Well, it's actually a square section O-ring from the bearing suppliers down the road, and I'm just going to glue that on the outside, so it should look alright. It should go on like a car tyre. Now I'm going to use super glue, so I don't want to glue myself to the tyre, and so what I've done is put some cling wrap onto a board, clamped the board, and then screwed the idler wheel to the board. So hopefully I can just pull it from the top down and just let it snap into place without me touching the super glue. So I'm going to try it here, and that's gone on pretty well. So I'll just push that down. I don't think I got much glue on me at all. In fact, I don't think I got any on me, which was pretty lucky. So I'm just making sure it's sitting flush, and then the cling film just comes straight off, so that was good. I cleaned up the excess adhesive with some acetone. I'll just refit the wheel and put the platter on. I want to test the speed that it's got now, particularly the while, and it's come up at 33 okay, and the while's now dropped to 0.53%, so better, so it's certainly not perfect. I've connected a couple of computer speakers here, so I've just connected that to the output of the gramophone, or the turntable, and I've got a little mat here which I might use as the final mat for this, and I've got a bit of James Last there. We'll see how this thing goes. I checked the needle, it looks okay through the magnifying glass. This thing's so, it's like a Russian tractor, this thing. Nothing like turntables from some years later. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Doesn't sound too bad. The strings give it away if it's the woe and flutter's too big, or the woe. Yeah, it's a bit wowy. So that doesn't sound too bad. This mechanism that was originally fitted to this gram was very cumbersome and it's over-engineered. It's silly. So I couldn't get it to work properly either. So I've given it away and gone for a much simpler solution. So what I've done is machined up a little cam, and it's attached to the tone arm. A micro switch operates the power to the motor, and when you take the tone arm off the rest and put it near the record, it turns the power on. And when it gets to the end of the record, turns the power off. I've got all the parts ready, the case and the turntable, the radio, there's other bits of the speaker has been repaired, so it's all ready to go back together now. This is the original cartridge that came with the radio when I got it. It's not very good, the sound quality is pretty ordinary. So I bought these Chinese replacement ceramic cartridges. I'm going to try and fit one of those. That's the original frame that held the original cartridge. I'm just going to trace it out on a bit of aluminium that I've got there. I'm using aluminium just to keep the weight about the same because it's going to end up with a bit more material in it. So just cutting it out, and I'm going to shape it to the right dimensions. And I just got to mark where I want to put some cuts. I'm just making a cut here. I want to just make a little tang to grip the front of the cartridge. I just want to bend that over and then bend it back into a joggle. There, it fits on quite nicely there. I've just made a little tiny bracket at the back there to hold the back of the cartridge, and there it's finished. So just fitting it into the radio. The weight is very similar to the old cartridge and support. So here we go. It looks alright. I think the back's down a little bit. I need to lift that up a bit so I can bend my little support and just pull the back up slightly. But it sounds terrific.
He wanted to give her everything.
I was going to fit Bluetooth to this unit, but the boards I've got for Bluetooth aren't working very well, so I'm going to fit an aux socket and a switch and a couple of LED indicator LEDs on a plate, and I'll just stick it in next to the turntable. So there's the plate, I've already cut that. I'm just making a little jig up to hold it while I round off the corners. I want to get a nice uniform corner on it, so this is a simple little jig, and it took 5 minutes to make that. And it just gives it quite a good uniform finish. And just a matter of drilling 4 holes in the top. I've got a stereo socket here, and I'm just soldering on a couple of 10k resistors to join the stereo into mono, just twisted together there. And I've also put a 0.01 capacitor in there just to make sure the DC comes back into it from the radio into your music player. And there it is finished. And just a quick spray with some metallic antique bronze should make it look quite nice. There's our little aux phono plate and fitted. I put some nice brass screws in there to try and match, and it's got a little LED to show you're on phono, or a green LED to show you're on aux. The radio's come up pretty nice, I think. Everything works well.
When you get little tunes off your phone and all sorts of other things, you do tend to. We're just reminiscing over a cup of coffee before we came back on air at 5 o'clock.
So the radio sounds great and works very well. As you can see, the turntable's turned out pretty neat actually. I cut that felt out to fit the turntable, and yeah, it's working very well. I'll just demonstrate the auxiliary input. So you just plug into there, of course, select auxiliary. Have to kill that, the YouTube will get me. So I'll just switch it over to phono, and we can listen to the phonograph. I can't play too much because I'll get pinged.
I'm quite aware that here and there are traces of the can about the ball. Told me you were through with me.
And that's it. It works very well. Done a lot of work in the background that I haven't filmed. That idler wheel, I ended up putting it in the lathe and machining it a little bit, machining the rubber, and that reduced the wow quite a bit. I glued down the felt pad with some sticky double-sided, very thin double-sided tape, so that's left a little bit of skidding. I also took that big spring I put on there, I took that off because I realised later that that's going to put a little divot in the rubber tyre, so I didn't want that, so I put the lightweight spring back on, and it's working properly. I managed to position it so that it worked properly. Everything's worked. The speed change works. We saw the new cartridge go in. They're terrific for the price, for this quality of set. It's great. It'll play string instruments and sound normal. So I'm very impressed with the way it's playing, considering how antiquated it is. I also weighed this tone arm after I'd made a little new plate and new cartridge on it, and I expect them to be around about 6 grams. When I weighed it, it came up to exactly 6 grams, so that was a great result for that as well. Just for interest, the LEDs, I'm just running them off the 6.3 volt filament voltage, and It's just got a resistor in there, and that's a diode, of course, so it's flashing, but you can't see the flashing from the AC. So that's it for this one. I've put in weeks of work on this that I didn't film. I try to keep the videos at about 40 minutes. This one's going up close to 50, if not a bit longer, but it's such a big job. A couple of repairs to the case, and I had to make a masonite base for it. It took half a day just to polish the case, it's so big. You know, not the most impressive looking machine, but if you had the right stand for it, an antique stand or something, it would look pretty good in your home if you're looking for that sort of thing. So I'm not sure what's going to happen to it. I think I'll have to move it on because I just don't have anywhere to put it. Anyway, as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you get something out of it. You know, if you're into this sort of thing, let me know. Give me a comment there and tell me what you're doing. If you'd like me to try and do some certain radios or something, perhaps I can do that if I've got them. Most of mine are Australian radios, of course. So I hope you'll join me next time for my next radio adventure. I'm not sure what it's going to be. I'll have to look through my inventory and see which one tickles my fancy. There's a couple there I'm dying to do, but I'm a bit scared of them, so I'll have to see how we go with those ones. They're a big job too. In the meantime, I'm going to put a record on and listen to a bit of jazz.